The City of Bristol, providing beautiful parks, economic development, and a family-friendly community.
We're going to begin with our joint meeting of the Board of Finance and the City Council. We have several members in chambers as well as on the call. Would you like everybody to identify themselves, Therese?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll start in chambers on my far right.
Peter Kelly, City Council.
Greg Hahn, City Council.
Scott Rosato, City Council. Dave Perleski, City Council.
Brittany Barney, City Council.
Mary Fortier, City Council.
And on the call, it looks like we have Commissioners Orlando Kelfi, Nick Jones, Cheryl Tebow, and there are two call-in numbers that are unidentified. Are those Board of Finance members?
You also have Ron Burns, Board of Finance.
Hello, Commissioner Burns.
O'Brien, Board of Finance.
So Commissioner Burns and Commissioner O'Brien are the two call-in 2 and call-in 4. And we also have our Water Superintendent, Rob Longo, on the call as well. Okay. And Commissioner Mace sitting out in the cheap seats. Okay, so I think we have everybody accounted for. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular joint meeting on August 12th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now going to move on to the consent calendar, which is items 2A through K. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the joint meeting would like to pull off for further discussion or clarification? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is to transfer $13,980 from the general fund contingency account to operating transfer out, a special revenue for the city match of the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant.
Move approval.
Discussion? This is the city's match for the $139,000 grant which we're using for Fire Officer 2 and incident safety training. Thank you, Chief. There's no other questions or concerns. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now to item 4, to make an additional appropriation of $153,777 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund for the 2019 FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
Move approval.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the monthly revenue and expense report presentation by Controller Diane Waldron.
Good evening, everyone. Couple of things that I do want to report. It's funny because when I put this report together, I always want to try and find something different to talk about, so it might be a little bit different. Couple of things, just with 2 months of the fiscal year, we are finding that our building permits and our conveyance taxes are coming in very strong. The building permits right now are at 23.6% of budget, or $283,000. Last year, we were at only 20% at $210,000. So we're doing better than last year at this point in time. The conveyance tax fees, just probably as you know and have been reading about, the housing market has really been taking off in Connecticut. And right now we are at 31% of our budget for 2021. $255,000, and last year at this time we had collected $188,000. So I think I just talked to Therese Pack earlier, and she has seen an increase in the conveyance tax going up in the number of transactions. So I think we'll just keep an eye on that, and that will be good because, as you know, some of our other revenues we probably will not do as well in, like the investment income, like we did this current year. I do want to talk about the tax collections, though, because I don't know if anybody noticed, if you looked at the report, there was no collections noted in that report. We did have an issue with QDS and posting to our financial system, and I believe that is getting resolved tonight. I know the tax office or someone in there tonight trying to get that resolved. But I do want to give you a few numbers because I do think it's important. The tax collections through August right now is at 68.1 million. That's the current levy. That's 45.2%. Last year at the same time for this same report, we had collected 79.9 million or 54.1%. And the reason I wanted to compare it to last year and just bring this up is we did defer the payments until 10/1. So any payments that come in through 10/1 will have no interest or penalties. Any taxes that come in October 2nd and later will have the penalties. And I know when we were working on the budget, we were very concerned about cash flow. And we spent a lot of time looking at what our cash flow would be from January through September to see if we could get through. And we actually did better than we had thought. We actually thought we were only going to collect the escrow payments, which was around 27 million, and approximately maybe 2 to 5 million in other taxes. So to collect 68.1 million, I think was very good that Bristol taxpayers actually did not take as much of a benefit of that deferral as we had anticipated when we put the budget together. Just to let you know another fact, of the 68 million, 28 million of that was escrow, so the other 40 million was all rest of real estate, residential real estate, motor vehicle, and personal property. I did find out today that we did get another $5 million in today from ESPN, so they were taking advantage of some of the deferral, but another $5 million came in today. So I think, all in all, I know we were concerned about cash flow, but I think we will get through September, or through October 1st, because I know we had a lot of debt payments as well in that 3-month period. The prior collections are consistent with 2019, so nothing of concern there. And I do not have investment earning numbers yet. They have not yet been allocated for July and August, so hopefully we can have that for the next report. The only other two things I want to report on, 2019-20, we are still closing the year, getting ready for the audit. We will have carryovers at the October Board of Finance meeting, so they'll come here before the November joint board meeting. The Board of Education did report at the last Board of Finance meeting they anticipate having a $1.7 million surplus. Of that, $450 will be used for their cafeteria deficit, and the balance they will be requesting to carry over in that one, actually it's 2%, they can carry over up to 2% in a reserve fund for next year. And I don't really want to talk about FEMA much, there's really not too much more to report. We did submit our final, that request for information they looked for that $500,000 that we had first submitted. And as you know in my report, there's about $131,000 in costs that we do not think they will cover. Of that, we will go to the coronavirus relief fund that the state has set up, and hopefully it will be reimbursed there. Of the $56,000 that we did do in our second application, we do know there's about $13,000 to $15,000 roughly that will not be eligible, but we have to submit first to FEMA and then go to the state. So that's just the update on the COVID FEMA. I'm done. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for the controller?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we did have one piece of good financial news that came in late this afternoon. Councilman Barney, I know you were going to talk about that at the council meeting, but I think it would be appropriate for joint board as well.
Yep. So I am happy to report that there were grants allocated to the city of Bristol in the sum of $47,700 for the 2020 election to purchase PPE for the poll workers to ensure that this election is safe. So as we know, the November election, I'm sure many people will be voting. They could be voting absentee, but we want to make sure that our poll workers are prepared and safe if they are voting in person. So I thought that was great news because the right to vote in America is one of the most sacred rights we have. So I was happy to hear that it will be supported by that FEMA grant in Bristol. A side note, if anyone is looking to volunteer in case you drop off before our council meeting, the registrar's office is looking for more poll workers. It is a paid position, so I guess it wouldn't be volunteering, but it would still be a great way to spend your time on election day. You can call the registrar's office at 6165 if you're interested in that opportunity. I actually have a friend who is taking the day off to do it, and she was so excited to be a part of democracy, and I'm glad that she'll be supported with some safety equipment too. So that is, I think, really good news for Bristol.
And I think, Therese, we believe that the small grant that we were allocated for the August primary is folded up into that 47,000, hopefully.
I'm thinking that it is, but it is possible. I know that it was already submitted, that grant had been submitted, so I don't know whether that's part of that. It was a total of about $9,000
Okay.
for the primary.
Huh.
And it covered the extra costs for my office because of the ballots that had to be issued.
Right.
And left about $2,500 for the registrar's office. I'm sorry, they had about $2,500 more that they had, that wasn't covered under that.
Okay.
So they would be able to, at least from the 47.7, I think, be able to take part of that. And with the costs of course, hiring in my office for the November election, there's probably been $25,000 in human resource costs there.
So it's good that we're having our upfront costs covered at this point without having to worry about it. Great, thank you. Is there any other business or comments for the joint meeting? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to start the council meeting in 2 minutes. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September City Council meeting. We are going to call to order our meeting at 7:03. I'd like to ask those of you who are with us to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to start our meeting. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The members of the City Council, please introduce themselves, starting on my far right.
Peter Kelly, 2nd District.
Greg Hahn, District 1.
Scott Rosato, 1st District. Dave Perleski, 2nd District.
Brittany Barney, 3rd District.
Mary Fortier, 3rd District.
And I'm Mayor Ellen Zappo-Sasu. The first item on our agenda is for opening ceremonies, a moment of reflection. At the end of this week, we will be observing 9/11 Remembrance, and so I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the last 19 years. Thank you. The second item of our business tonight is the approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting on August 12th, 2020.
Move to accept.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our third item is public participation, and before we get to that, we do have a spotlight tonight. Our Solar for All initiative with the City of Bristol and the Connecticut Green Bank. We have Jonathan Drum here with us tonight to give us an overview. Jonathan, if you could come to the podium. And welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm Jonathan Drum with Posigen. I'm one of the managers in our Hartford office and appreciate you allowing me to come in today. Emily Basham is from the Green Bank. She was planning on coming, but she couldn't make it, so I'm here in her stead. Posigen and the Connecticut Green Bank have had a long-standing public-private partnership, and we've had a lot of success in a lot of other towns and communities throughout the state. We brought that success to Bristol recently as well. I'd like to share some of those results. You know, in the state of Connecticut, we've gone through quite a bit, like everyone else recently. Many people are working from home. State of Connecticut traditionally carries a very high energy burden to begin with. We pay the highest electric rates in the entire country, except for Alaska and Hawaii. Sometimes Massachusetts and Rhode Island beats us out with those prices, but right now we're winning. Most of our folks in this state are struggling to meet some of their bills because of that as well. And with Posigen, we are the only solar company in the country that has no income or credit requirements. So we can help folks that no other company will or has the ability to. And specifically, we focus on low to moderate income. A lot of times we focus on folks that are struggling the most. And with that, we bring great results. So those folks are struggling quite a bit. They're staying at home. Their energy bills are higher. We launched this what we call Solar for All campaign in June. On June 10th is when we launched it. You've probably seen some posters around town that say Solar for All. They have QR codes. People can go on and schedule a meeting. We've been doing webinars through social media. We've done some mailers. We've done some phone canvassing, as well as some door knocking as well from a distance, and being respectful of people's boundaries and whatnot. It's been a little of a challenge with the pandemic. Normally we'd be having events at schools and churches and things like that to really get the word out. But we've had a lot of success. Since June, we've actually had 53 families respond, 31 of which have been approved to move forward and get solar. Keep in mind, this is with no money out of their pocket. They pay nothing up front, and there's no income or credit requirements. So they don't pay a dime until we actually are saving them money with solar. I'm not going to go into how solar works and stuff, but I want to bring to you what we're helping your folks do. Out of those 31 that have been approved, 16 are in process in what we would call feasibility, where we're evaluating their home, making sure that the roof and the electric is up to code. 8 of which have been released to installer, and 2 folks since June have been installed. That's good news, but before that, we had 102 families already part of this program and 33 approved. So part of this program since June, we've effectively doubled the amount of customers in Bristol. Before we came in June, we had 33 active homeowner customers in the town, and now we've got 31 that have been approved since June. So we're impacting a lot of folks there. We are scheduled to be at the farmers market on the 26th. And we have digital campaigns that we have. We have some flyers that we can mail out, things like that. But part of the hope and goal for me coming today is to ask for your help as well, and your engagement in getting the word out. Because we can do door knocking, we can do the farmers market and things like that, but there's limitations to what we can and can't do in the current environment. If there's a way that you can reach out to your constituents and let them know, we're here to help. There's no money out of their pocket. We guarantee savings. We will not work with someone if we can't save the money. And it doesn't hurt that we're saving the environment at the same time. We find that the money that we save folks is typically coming back into the community as well. For every dollar that we save, we expect about $3 to come back into the community. So on average, our homeowners that we're bringing on board are saving about $700 a year on their first year electric bills. So we are bringing some serious impact to the town. I think you gave me about 5 minutes. I've taken 4. If there's any questions or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions for Jonathan on the program?
I do. So you said that there's no income requirements, but people qualify. So what exactly qualifies or disqualifies someone?
Ultimately, it comes down to your roof and your house. It comes down to how much sun do you get, as well as how much energy do you use. So because of our partnership with the Green Bank, there's a lot of oversight on us that there is not on other companies. We have requirements when I put a solar array on someone's house, it has to produce a certain amount of minimum energy, or else we can't move forward. So sometimes people have too many trees, or part of their house shades other parts of their house, or maybe it's not facing the best direction for sun, and we just can't generate enough money to save them, or we can't generate enough energy to save them money. In those cases, we unfortunately have to let the homeowner know that they're not a great candidate for solar at the moment, but hey, if you cut these trees down, we can help you out.
Well, that's good, because it's an educational experience too for the homeowner, just to give it a shot. I know for me, I've been told I'm not a good candidate because of my Victorian gabled roof. So
that's the other challenge. Sometimes you just don't have roof space.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, people don't use enough energy to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
If you're only spending $40 or $50 a month on your electric bill, I'm not going to save you any money. So I'm not going to do business with you. But if most people are paying more than $100, and we're saving them quite a bit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have 2 events coming up leading up to the farmers market that maybe we can work with you on. We have flyers that our Public Works Department has generated that we're using currently for this program, but we have food box distributions through a Farms to Families program where we get about 1,000 cars. So we can add that to one of the pieces of literature that we put in those boxes.
That would be fantastic. And we work with Food Share and
Yeah.
Operation Fuel, Habitat for Humanity, organizations like that as well. So great symbiotic relationships with those kinds of organizations.
Okay, so I wrote down a note to see if we could get those flyers for Thursday. They're also here the following Thursday, which are both Thursdays before you appear at the farmers market. So maybe we could actually even add some leader information there about coming to see you at the farmer's market if people have more questions or need more information.
That would be fantastic, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Great.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
coming, Jonathan.
Thank you.
On the actual sign-up sheet that is outside of the council chambers, nobody has signed up. So I will just ask of our general audience that is assembled here tonight, is there anybody within the chambers that would like to address the city council? Hello. You can come to the podium, and all you need to do is just give us your name and your address, and I'll log you in as a public participant.
My name is William Burgess. My address is 332 Queen Street, apartment 4C here in Bristol,
Okay.
06010.
Okay. The floor is yours, Mr. Burgess.
I had a question about the sidewalks. I recently had an issue with a car that was parked on the sidewalk. I think it was brought to your attention and you made a directive up for it. My question is, if you made a directive and there's an ordinance, why did you have to make a directive for people that park on the sidewalk?
So I think that I do remember the phone message coming in, and I think what we're dealing with here is most of what we deal with for anything is complaint driven. So nobody had made a complaint until you had about that car. In terms of your concern that police officers are seeing this car and they are not addressing that ordinance issue, I will again say, mostly it's complaint driven, that they will address when a complaint comes in, but they're also extremely busy going from call to call, so we don't unfortunately have the luxury of police officers just out on, I guess I would call quality of life types of patrols. So when you brought it to our attention that somebody was violating the sidewalk ordinance, we, on your behalf, made sure that somebody that was the officer in charge sent a car out. The first time they went, I believe the car had already been moved, but then it reappeared. And I do believe that there was an enforcement action the second time they went out.
And also the conditions of the sidewalks. Because I'm a bicycle rider, so it really inhibits me greatly, especially on Riverside and Main Street area.
Yep.
I mean, they're not sidewalks anymore. They're just rubble. And so I asked your deputy, I believe it was, how do I, address that? And she said that it was the responsibility of either the business or the homeowner were responsible for the sidewalks, which I naturally didn't agree with. And I actually stopped in and they say, actually Bristol does not do sidewalks.
Right.
And I noticed also that there's a lot of overgrown shrubbery as right there on Oakland. I had stopped into the Public Works office one day and told them about a shrub so big that you could not access that sidewalk. So they actually sent someone out and actually cut it back real good. But the fence along the Oakland is still the same thing. There's like shrubbery coming through so thick that you cannot access the sidewalk.
And this is on Oakland Street?
Oakland.
What part of Oakland?
253 area. Well,
Okay.
as a matter of fact, that's where Public Works went. But they did like the corner
Okay.
where the homeowners were. And the fence runs along where those businesses are down on Farmington
Route
Avenue.
6, yep.
Right.
Okay.
So up there, there's nothing except they're just growing out of control there. I mean, I even went one day with a pocket knife and just started cutting, but it was so many that I just couldn't do too much.
So from a complaint-driven process, we can, in fact, notify that business owner that he has a code enforcement issue. We actually have a part-time employee that works all summer, because summer is the kind of the high period where people are out enjoying outdoors, on sidewalks, on bikes, walking. And we call him the tall grass code enforcement officer, but he does overgrown brush, he does all of that. And so we can make sure that he takes care of that particular area. He's actually the one employee that we do have that has a little bit of flexibility in his schedule, so he goes out and he can eyeball things, and he looks for things before they become problems. So we also have a phone app, which I can show you. You can use your app, take a picture, and the picture gets transported right to the Public Works Department, and then it gets put on a work order list. It's called Really Simple Reporting, and it's something that I personally thought was going to catch on a lot more than it did, but it's free, and it's a great way for people who especially are out or active on bikes or anywhere or in their own neighborhood to report things like broken sidewalks, potholes, overgrown brush, any kind of hazards. We had a call today, a police department call, that somebody had literally lifted a grate out of a catch basin. Those are things that we need to know about right away from a safety perspective, and somebody could have just taken a picture of that and it would have gone right to us with the GPS points and everything. So we try to have as many tools as possible to empower people to be able to make complaints so that we can resolve them. But there's very few eyes on the road, and we've actually in the last 10 years probably done a huge improvement in terms of coordinating. The police officers now they'll call in code enforcement requests. We have all of the solid waste drivers, when they're picking up your trash and recycling, they're calling things in. We have a bunch of inspectors that are out dealing with contractors on a daily basis, they're calling things in, and it's all coming to a central place. So from a coordination standpoint, there's been a lot of improvement, but there's always room for more improvement. And in terms of the sidewalks, we do have a 50-50 program, so if you are a homeowner specifically, you can apply for a program, we'll pay for half, and then you would be responsible for half. In terms of businesses, they do have to do them, but I will also say that we've done a lot of sidewalk upgrades in certain neighborhoods in conjunction with some of the large-scale projects we're doing. Downtown sidewalks, Riverside is a complete mess, but we're waiting for the Department of Transportation to come through because they're about to redo that road. So it wouldn't make sense for us to do anything there before they come through. There's also a project that might happen at the beginning of Riverside. There's also a project that's happening in the middle, in front of Tracy Driscoll, and then we're redoing the entire section of Route 72 where it meets Route 69. So we try to take a very conservative approach, because if we know somebody else is coming through, whether it's the DOT or Eversource or AT&T or Frontier, and they're going to be digging up our road and doing any of those cuts, we're not going to do any work on there until they're done. So it's a complicated process, especially when you go down a street like Riverside and see how dire those conditions are with those sidewalks. They're terrible. We're also working through the Economic Development Agency to do an entire facade and kind of an uplift program for Riverside Avenue, because it's a really important gateway. So again, we're trying to do it in a reasonable, thoughtful way so that we're not throwing good money after projects that are in process.
Also, there's a directional sign, like arrows going this way and this way. On the sidewalk at Main and Riverside, been there for a month.
That's probably part of the construction project that's happening there?
Oh, no, that's at the Bristol Health Center.
Yep.
This is just...
Before that?
Right.
All right, we had been in the road, Ray, help me out here. We were in the road in between the karate place and the bank for something. So that sign probably needs to be put back up. Okay, so Eversource Gas was doing something there. It was torn up. We can check on that sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in chambers that would like to speak before the city council? Is there anybody online that would like to speak to the city council?
Madam Mayor, I would. Andrew Howe, 70 John Avenue for the record.
Thank you.
With school buses and everything back on the road again, I'm just curious, have the state's attorney come back with any sort of investigation or if a resolution has been made on it?
I have no idea, Mr. Howe. That question would be better aimed at them.
Be aimed at them? Fair enough. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the public? Last call for public participation, online or in chambers. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to announcements, and we will start at my far left with Councilman Fortier.
I have one, Your Honor, regarding the census. Bristol is doing above average with our census returns, but we're still not done. And we do get $9 million from the federal government based on census numbers across all of our budgets, including the Board of Education. We were at 72% last week that had completed their census, and we're down to the last 25 days of census counting. And so the census enumerators are going to be at our farmers market on Saturday, and there is going to be a free gift for anyone who comes and fills out their census on Saturday at the farmers market. And you can still do it online. If that's something, you've got the original paperwork and you just have not done it, you can do it online if you don't want to come down to the farmers market. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Barney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the next announcement is probably repetitive for those that were in chambers or on the phone for the previous meeting, but I just wanted to repeat for anyone that is now tuned in that the City of Bristol has been awarded $47,700 in grants to support safe in-person voting this year, so that can be distributed with PPE or other expenses so that the city can make sure that we are doing a quick count of the election as quick as we can, and supporting the staff as well. So very exciting that we have those funds available since the right to vote is so important in this country, and I hope everybody is able to exercise it. I will just add to that the Registrar's Office is accepting poll worker applications. You can contact their office at 860-584-6165. I did mention that a friend of mine, a fellow young person, in their 30s is volunteering for this and taking a day off from work to do it. And I think it's really important that we do that as this generation continues to try to step up and help support safe voting in America. So very exciting. And if you are interested in that, contact the Registrar's Office for more information.
Thank you. Councilman Perleski.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since the early spring, when the pandemic hit, the mayor and each member of the city council has reached out to our local business owners, small business owners, to see how they were doing, to see what we can do to help them and see what the city can do to make their plight a little bit easier. And it was obvious as we spoke to them and continue to speak with them that how important it is to support our local business, small businesses in Bristol. Now more than ever, they need our support. And as the season changes, our kids are back in school, it gives us another opportunity to shop. And to shop locally is so important. Small business contributes in such a consistent, meaningful way to our community for youth activities, our nonprofits, and it's important. And I specifically think about restaurants. Right now in the summer season, restaurants have seating inside and out. So that enables them to fill up their seat count on a daily basis. But as the season gets colder, they'll be limited more towards inside seating, which will affect them significantly. So I want to encourage people, many of these places have outside or takeout services and curbside pickup. I encourage you to use those and help contribute to our community through our small business. Thank you, Your Honor.
We actually had a discussion about that today at our site plan meeting because the executive orders have extended outside dining, realistically through November or whenever the weather starts to turn. So we're starting to talk about how to expedite over the winter months a process to make permanent some of these outside dining options for the restaurants that we're able to galvanize, support, and do it very quickly because the governor allowed us to do an expedited approval, but now they want to do it permanently. Some of them are going to be easy. Some of them might take a few more different types of twists from a site plan perspective. So we're already starting to work on that, and I wholeheartedly agree. We want the same restaurants that we have right now that we had before the pandemic to be here when the pandemic's over. And it's really all on us to make sure that that happens. Actually, all small businesses, especially the restaurants. Moving on to Councilman Rosado.
Yes, Madam. On September 29th, from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., we'd like you to join us for our first quarterly statewide opioid partnership meeting based on conversations and feedback during the Governor's Prevention Partnerships. Partners in practice, law enforcement, and local partners will address opioid use disorder in communities. Some of our featured speakers will be Ms. Madam Mayor, Ellen Zoppel herself, Chief Brian Gold from the Bristol Police Department, Dr. Andrew Lim from Bristol Hospital, and Lisa Coates from the Counseling Center.
I'm just so happy that Chief Gold finally sent in his headshot because we didn't have that.
He is.
Very handsome.
The event will be interactive, and you will learn about PARA, Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative, that is being implemented around our state. You can register at preventionworksct.org.
Yeah, this is, we were chosen as the first community within the state to share our experience with our COBRA program, so we're looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it will be online only and not their usual quarterly forum, but I think it'll be a great opportunity to share what Bristol's doing and also pick up some other ideas and best practices from other communities. I'll pass that down.
It's like we're full of acronyms.
Yes.
COBRA is the City of Bristol Recovery Alliance, and I'm proud to say that this past couple weeks we've helped two individuals. It's a partnership between Bristol Hospital and the police department, and it's to direct people who are having substance issues away from the courts and get them into recovery. So again, this past week is just showing you how Bristol's doing their most to make Bristol a better community, and we wish them good luck in their recovery.
I think we can, before we move on to Councilman Han, I'll also acknowledge that this is our Telly Award that we won for the social video series for the Mayor's Task Force. It was produced by Maz Media, and as we were told on Thursday night when they brought it over to us, that this is something that is a step below an Emmy. And it's a symbol of creative excellence and a way to honor members of the team and recognize contributions and efforts to our award-winning work. And the PSA series, which is 13 in total, is available on the City of Bristol website. I know that we have some other videos from Bristol Health, and likewise Bristol Health is sharing ours, but ours are stories of families that have gone through substance misuse from opioids, alcohol, and other types of drugs, and it's stories of hope. So at this point, I just would like to take a moment and thank everybody that was on our opioid task force for the last 2.5 years. We've accomplished a lot. There's a lot more that has to happen, but we have very strong partnerships with our medical community, with a lot of our harm reduction groups, with our social service safety net, the police department, the Board of Education. Kathy Savino in my office was instrumental in liaisoning with the mass media and all of the people that we identified within the community who came forward to tell their stories. So if you haven't seen the videos, I strongly recommend that you look at them, again, under our allheart.com, or you can go to our opioid task force section of the city website, and they're all there. They're about a minute to 90 seconds each, and there's 13 of them, and we rolled them out last year as a series, and hopefully people are listening to the message, because honestly there's just so many people in our community whose families and businesses and friends networks are affected, that it's really something that we all need to be akin to and understand what we can do as a community. So again, for everyone that was involved, including those parents that have been affected, friends and relatives that were affected, these meetings are hard. Some of them are very difficult to sit through when you start hearing the personal stories. But in the end, I think that it's something that Bristol should definitely be proud of. So thanks to everyone who was a part of it. Moving on to Councilman Han, announcements.
Yeah, sure, I have two. First of all, I've been getting a few phone calls recently on brush debris from the storm. People are still looking to clean up. And they were asking, now that it's been so long, is the city still picking up? And I just want to make sure everybody understands, for brush from the storm, you can call Public Works and schedule a pickup for the debris. And it's the brush, it's not the wood that's like this. It's the branches and the debris that is left. So call Public Works and they'll be able to schedule. They are scheduling out quite a bit because there are people still digging out. But you can get on the schedule and it will be picked up. The other thing I want to mention is more of a Bristol pride item. We have some excellent organizations, museums, Clock Museum, Historical Society, the Carousel Museum, and when one is recognized, it's a reflection on Bristol, not just on the organization. And recently, the Carousel Museum was selected for an honor. A gentleman passed away in California, and he had means. He had a world-class carousel collection. And when he passed away, he wanted to leave it to some museums. He's sending 1 to 3 items to the Metropolitan Museum, the Boston MFA, and the Brooklyn Museum. But the lion's share of the collection, which is extensive, is being divided between the Merry-Go-Round Museum in Ohio and Bristol's own Carousel Museum. They will be receiving between 15 and 35 pieces from this gentleman. And Executive Director Morgan Ergo is in California, I believe now, meeting with the estate. So they thought highly enough for our organization, for the Bristol's Carousel Museum, to bestow this honor on them. So I think you'll be seeing more about this, I'm sure, but it's going to be a collection to see. So congratulations to the Carousel Museum.
Great.
Thank you.
Councilman Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to address a concern that is prevalent not just here in Bristol, throughout Connecticut, but the country as well, and that is panhandling. We have a fair amount of panhandling going on in the city. Constituents have called myself, other council members, the mayor, the chief. I've had conversation with the chief, and he's on it as well, but there's only so much that he can do. But there is a lot we can do here personally in the city. And giving money to panhandlers may ultimately you'll be doing more harm than good. So we are the All Heart City, but sometimes showing love involves tough love. And we do want to be compassionate and empathetic in giving, but there is a preferred, more effective way to do this. And that is simply by not giving money to panhandlers, giving money to St. Vincent de Paul, the Agape House, Brian's Angels, the United Way, the Salvation Army. There are alternatives, and we really need to start instituting them. And it involves everyone buying in seeing the importance of this. Studies show that a large percentage of panhandlers are actually not even homeless, and many of them may have substance abuse problems, and you're actually fueling that by giving them money. So once again, it's not being heartless. We can be creative. An important part of this process is treating these folks like they're humans, which they are. You know, maintain eye contact. Tell them, I'm sorry, I can't, but have a good day. Just treat these folks as the same way you would treat anyone else you would encounter on the street. And we've also, it's come to our attention, and Chief Gould is helping us with this as well, is we believe there may be an organized syndicate that is actually bringing folks in, dropping them off, giving them signs. And I've watched some of these panhandlers, and they're good. they almost look like they're trained. They create eye contact. They're pretty good actors. So, we need to be aware of this, and it's just not Bristol, but we don't want to fuel these organizations by giving them money. So if we can have everyone's help with this, we want to make sure that we're actually helping these folks that might have substance abuse problems, that's a tongue twister, and not actually hurting them. We've been in touch with other communities as well, and they have given us information that we're going to be using, with their okay, which is touching on many things that I touched on specifically, and mentioning these social service agencies where they can go to and the like, and just being human. So if we can all be aware of this, all address this, and not give in to your impulse, thinking that you're going to help, but ultimately hurting. Thank you.
Certainly, Mr. Bridges, just come back to the microphone, please.
When you say that, there's an area that's, okay, where I live is a railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
About not even a quarter of a mile, there's a whole city of homeless people there. I mean, shouldn't you be addressing that? I'm talking like right now it's nice out.
Mm-hmm.
But they are there. And they've been there. I've been in Bristol for 5 years. And I have never seen, and I've been in Connecticut for 27 years. I've never seen homeless panhandlers more than I have in Bristol. Also, I've lived in Hartford. I've never heard as many sirens as I hear in Bristol. Motorcycles. Oh my God. They are the worst. So, I mean, when you say that, I mean, I think that you have to get at the root. And if they're living on the railroad track, they're homeless.
Right. It's a complicated process. This is one step. This is not going to solve it, but it is a big piece of the puzzle. You don't want to enable someone that has a substance abuse problem, and if they're not given money, perhaps they will reach out for help. But it's complicated, and it's not going to be easy, but we have to keep at it systematically and take little bites of the apple and hope taking little bites will add up.
It's a lot.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's not easy.
Like I say, I mean, 27 years, and I've only been here 5 years. I've never seen it as bad as
You're right.
It is here.
And that's where we have to get ahead of it and start working with everyone to hopefully make strides in solving the problem.
The syndicate, wow, that's the first time I ever heard
Well,
that.
by syndicate, I'm not suggesting organized crime, but...
Well, you never know. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we are in the process of cataloging all of the people who are currently homeless, chronically homeless, to get them into the Housing Management Information Systems, HMIS, so that we hopefully have an opportunity to house people or relocate people into more stable housing before the winter, which is always the challenge. I have a meeting tomorrow with Chris the Barge from St. Vincent de Paul about overflow. So we obviously exceed certain levels within the shelters every winter in order to get people inside. There's also been challenges because of COVID. So a lot of the housing services have gone to reduced capacity because they have to have social distancing within the facilities. So that has actually created a real crimp in getting people into rapid rehousing, temporary housing, or shelters. So there's a lot going on. And we're aware of the railroad encampment. They tend to move from one end of the railroad tracks to the other, depending on what the private property owners decide to do on any given day. Many of them have refused our offers of housing. We have here in the city, not only do the police officers have contact with that population, but we also have a community services manager who goes out and does one-on-one contact. We have a housing navigator who makes the contact and gets them enrolled in the database so that they can be documented. We have the shelter, and then we have Brian's Angels, and we have the Agape House that provide short-term services. They also have the ability to enroll people. And then we have, obviously, the connection with 211. And unfortunately, a majority of people do not want the help and prefer to be outside. So that has been, just as Councilman Kelly was saying, that it's a multi-pronged issue. And sometimes we're successful in getting people off the street, and sometimes we're not. Not everybody wants to. And that's been a difficult pill to swallow in terms of what we want to do in terms of our social safety net in Bristol. Okay. Announcements. I just have one. Many of you worked it last week, but we have another Farmers to Families free food box program this Thursday, September 10th, and then we have another one on September 17th. They are both scheduled for 4 to 6 across the street in the center square. It is contactless, so people just pull up in their cars and they can pop their trunk, or we can put the box in the back seat. We believe the box that is coming this week is the same as the box from last week, which is a variation, a bag of apples, a bag of potatoes. Last week had cabbage, peppers, celery, onions. Help me out here. Was there a zucchini last week? Zucchini. Cabbage. So,
Tangerines?
no tangerines. Apples. So, it's about a $30 box of food that it is not income-based. So what we're stressing to everyone is if we have 1,400 boxes of food to give away every Thursday during this 2-hour period. And while we recognize that there's food insecurity and we want to get these boxes into the hands of the people that will use them, there are no income guidelines. Anybody can come through and get a box of food. You can get one for your neighbor, you can share a box if it's too big for you, and then if there are any left over, which there were about 24 boxes left over last week when the truck was late, we, Councilman Kelly, Councilman Rosado, and I brought them to some of the housing places, one off of Stafford Avenue and Gaylord and Kennedy, and left them in the lobbies so that they didn't go to waste. So please encourage all of your friends and family, if they're so inclined, the next 2 Thursday nights from 4 to 6. We're also using that as an opportunity to get important information from the city out into the hands of people who may not read newspapers or check online or have social media accounts. So we're promoting through this flyer that goes out. It's a bilingual flyer that goes out in all the boxes. We're promoting the census, the electronics recycling that's happening at Farmers Market, the Shred It Day that the Farmers Market, which is another great event that we're partnering with the library on. That's on September 19th. We have the free COVID testing information at the community health centers. We're promoting our COBRA program, the Bristol Housing Rehabilitation Program for people who might need help for improvements to their home, and also the Healthy People, Healthy Communities Market Program, so you could get free produce at the farmers market if you sign up with the Bristol-Burlington Health District, as well as the Senior Citizen Market coupons as well. So that's going out, and I think this week, as we talked about earlier, we'll try to get the Solar for All flyers in there, and continue to use that as an opportunity to communicate out as well. If there's no further announcements, we can move on to our consent calendar. There are 4 items, A through D. Does anybody have anything that they would like to remove from the consent calendar for further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar items 5A through D?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Last call. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to the reports of the committees. We have several items that we need to handle tonight from Salary, Real Estate, and the Ordinance Committee, and we'll start with the Salary Committee items.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Salary Committee has items A through C. A is to upgrade the position of Executive Director, Department of Aging, from salary level 9 to salary level 10 within the BPSA bargaining unit, effective July 1st, 2020, and to refer to the Board of Finance for funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, to upgrade the position of Senior Coordinator in the Department of Aging from salary level 6 to salary code 8 within the local 233 bargaining unit, effective October 1st, 2020, and to refer to the Board of Finance for funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Item C, to change the position of Staff Assistant to an Administrative Assistant in the Department of Aging at salary code 5 within the local 233 bargaining unit, effective October 1st, 2020, and to refer to the Board of Finance for funding.
Second.
Discussion. I'm not sure that one needs
No, I don't think that did.
funding.
I think you're correct. I'm sorry. Again, this particular one is just changing the
Title.
The title.
the title, and we're trying to be more consistent in the 233 bargaining unit. We have, everyone has their own title in 233, almost. So we're trying to streamline them so that similar positions have the same title.
And all of these were brought about by a retirement that is occurring in that department. So what we typically do is whenever there is a vacancy or a retirement, we take a moment and ask the head of that department to reevaluate and make recommendations. So that's what you see happening with items B and C. And the recommendation to upgrade the position of the executive director is my recommendation based on the fact that that's the only department level position that is within Code 9. So we're moving her to 10, so that is more in keeping with all of the other department heads. And it is more reflective of the other duties that she has in terms of that position. Are there any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, we will vote on 6C, which was the change of title for the position Staff Assistant to Administrative Assistant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else from Salary Committee to be brought to the table?
No.
Okay. We will move on to the Real Estate Committee.
Yes, Your Honor, I have two motions. The first motion is in regards to the Southeast Bristol Business Park. It is hereby moved in accordance with the Connecticut General Statute, Section 824, that the Bristol City Council refer to the Planning Commission for its report on the proposed sale of Lot Number 2 and Lot Number 6 located in the Southeast Bristol Business Park. It is hereby further moved in accordance with Connecticut General Statute 7-163E that the Bristol City Council schedule a public hearing to be published by the city clerk on the sale of Lot Number 2 and Lot Number 6 located in the Southeast Bristol Business Park. Said hearing to occur on October 13th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. by a meeting of Special Real Estate Committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor, I do want to remind everyone that the Lot Number 2 is looking to be developed by BHF Logistics Incorporated, and they're looking to put a 9,000 square foot headquarters and trucking terminal facilities there. And on Lot 6, Echo Smart Home Services is looking to put a 12,000 foot corporate headquarters there. So this is very good news for Bristol.
Yeah, both of those businesses I've met with, and I'm very excited to have them in Bristol. I think we're going to see some future expansions from both of them. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next item.
I hereby move that the City of Bristol accept the offer from Brian Whitford and/or its assigns in the amount of $46,010 for the city-owned property identified as Assessor's Map 5, Lot 35C, Glen Street. I further move that this matter be referred to Corporation Counsel to prepare and/or review any necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Councilman, could you add an amendment that the property is to be utilized only for a single-family house as part of the motion?
Certainly.
So the motion is going to be modified to stipulate single-family homes.
Yes.
Did we have a second on the main motion yet?
I'll second.
Okay, and then a motion, you'll make the motion to amend?
Make a motion to amend.
Is there a second to amend?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and amended. Does anybody have any questions concerning the sale of this lot?
Your Honor, if I may, this was a lot on Glen Street that was at one point 3 different lots, and we combined them for sale. This is, it went out, and we had 4 bidders on this property. And so we had a special meeting to decide on which one to take, and Mr. Whitford, and I believe is here, was the winner. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other real estate items to come to the table?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, moving on to ordinance, 3 items.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 3 motions from the Ordinance Committee. Each of them is for scheduling a public hearing on ordinance work that we've done. Agenda item 6F is to schedule a public hearing and introduce amendments to the Bristol Code of Ordinances, Section 2-75, 77, 97, 97.3, 97.5, 97.14, and 97.15. And this has to do with bringing the ordinance up to date for recently renegotiated police and fire union contracts. I hereby move that the time and place of Tuesday, October 6th, 2020, at 4:30 p.m. in the Council Chambers, City Hall, 111 North Main Street, Bristol, Connecticut, be set for the holding of a public hearing thereon by the Ordinance Committee, and that the city clerk publish notice of said public hearing and the proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances as required by the city charter.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 6G is to schedule a public hearing and introduce amendments to the Bristol Code of Ordinances, Section 22-1 and 22-15 regarding the Sewer Commission, and this is to provide the updates to the relevant, those ordinances as a follow-up to the work by the recent Charter Revision Committee. I hereby move that the time and place of Tuesday, October 6th, 2020, at 4:45 p.m. in the City Council Chambers, City Hall, 111 North Main Street, Bristol, Connecticut, be set for a holding of a public hearing thereon by the Ordinance Committee, and the city clerk publish notice of said public hearing and the proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances as required by the city charter.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And thank you. 6H is to schedule a public hearing and introduce amendments to the Bristol Code of Ordinances, Section 22-12.2, tax exemption for cogeneration systems. This is a new ordinance, and it has to do with following statutory guidelines for some tax exemptions available for co-generating system producers. I hereby move that the time and place of Tuesday, October 6th, 2020, at 4:50 p.m. in the Council Chambers, City Hall, 111 North Main Street, Bristol, Connecticut, be set for the holding of a public hearing thereon by the Ordinance Committee, and the city clerk publish notice of said public hearing and the proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances as required by the city charter.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do any other council members have other committee reports to come forward tonight? Councilman Fortier.
Yes, I just have one other from the Water Department, Water and Sewer Department, excuse me. For those of you that aren't aware, our reservoirs are depleted this summer due to our lack of rain. And I heard today from our superintendent, Rob Longo, that they're at 63%. A couple of weeks ago, when they got to 68%, we came under a voluntary water restriction, meaning we're asking that residents only use their outside water on even and odd days based on the number of their house. In other words, if you have an odd numbered house number, you can use water on odd number days to water grass, wash cars, etc. But that we ask that you only do it on those odd number days if your house is numbered with an odd number, and only even days if your house is even numbered. Again, those are voluntary guidelines right now and restrictions on outside water, But our superintendent is on the line. Maybe he'll tell us if the reservoirs get to what point will those voluntary restrictions become mandatory?
Yes, good evening. If we get to 50%, we will go into mandatory restrictions. So we're hoping to avoid that with the changing in the seasons and the watering. The growing season is done, so we're hoping with the community's effort. We did see a dramatic decrease in usage once we issued the voluntary restrictions, well over 15% within 24 hours, which was great. We can't thank our community enough. But we are still in a very dry season as well as the rest of the state. So until we see some measurable precipitation, we're asking for additional help.
Thank you.
Great. Councilman Proleski?
Your Honor, may I bring the council?
Sorry. Do you have one?
Yes, I know you like the linear fashion
Yeah.
of the reporting.
I didn't see you nod, so please.
That's okay.
The floor is yours.
I just wanted to thank Chief Flynn, since he's here, for leading the Fire Board of Commissioners on a tour of all the firehouses. I think this is definitely a great practice. The mayor also helped put together a special meeting so that it could be a recorded meeting. Any questions that came up or issues with the firehouse would all be recorded too. When Fire Board Commissioners are asked to make a motion for repair, or on the building committee, I also represent on that committee, and we get asked often for small repairs and things like that. It really helped to put into perspective seeing how the firefighters live, because they do spend quite a bit of time there away from their families, supporting us, and they should have functioning facilities. So it was a very eye-opening tour. I even got to be in the training, I don't know what it's called, I didn't take notes on that one, Chief Flynn, but the building where they filled up with smoke.
That would be the smokehouse.
The smokehouse, very creatively named. And have that experience of what it's like to be in a fire for a moment. And these guys are really brave, and they put a lot on the line for us. So just wanted to share that because I think it's interesting, and maybe stay tuned to the chief's social media. His social media page is just always happening with updates, and maybe you can get some previews into the firehouses as well. So thank you, Chief Lynn.
Thank you.
Yes. It was a rousing rendition of the experience, so good thing you stopped at me. Thank you.
Councilman Proleski?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to bring everyone up to date briefly on the Memorial Boulevard Inter-District Magnet School building project. The first phase of the demolition and hazmat removal is still in progress. In addition, 14 of the trade bids for this next phase of bidding are due this Thursday, and 13 more are due on the 15th of September. It looks like that we will have plenty of bids for each trade. Bids will be dropped off by the bidder, but the opening of the bids will be done virtually. This next phase of bids is an important one because it represents a significant portion of the building project. And we should have more information, more detailed information for the council next month about pricing. And lastly, I'd like to note that there was an accident on the premises this past month, and there was a truck rollover, and I want everyone to know that the truck that was involved in that accident was not part of the building project or had any relation to the building project for any of the subs or contractors. So I think that's important to note. And the building committee continues to meet monthly. Thank you, Your Honor.
I have some of the photographs of the building in progress that we've been sharing on Facebook since it's now shut off to the public, and it's been really great to see the progress happening, especially in the theater part. So we'll be dealing with some of the theater issues probably at the next council meeting because we have some preparations to do. Okay, anything down here? Councilman Kelly, did you have something?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. No.
Yes, just very briefly, Your Honor. That brought a smile to your face. We just want to acknowledge that school did start today, and not a lot to report. Orientation for freshmen at the two high schools, and online orientation for some of the younger students. I spoke to a mother who has a child in the 3rd grade at Mountain View, and she had a Zoom meeting. She signed on to the Google Classroom and also completed a gym assignment. But aside from that, not a lot to report yet, other than it's going to be a challenge, as teachers and administrators have acknowledged, but we have a lot of talented administrators and teachers, and we're confident that it's going to be meaningful and educational. So stay tuned. We'll have more to report at the next council meeting.
Thank you. And hopefully there will be some more CARES money coming through for the Board of Education too. I saw that today. Okay. Is there any unfinished business? Is there any new business? Hearing none, I will turn the meeting over to our town and city clerk for the reading of the resignations.
And there are no resignations this month?
Okay. Always good news. The appointments, there's only a few for September. I'm going to start by saying that we are still looking for people who are interested in serving on the Building Code Board of Appeals, and there are some background requirements for that in terms of knowledge base with construction code. We have 2 seats still available on the Diversity Council, although that is a pretty open group. You don't have to be a voting member to come to Diversity Council and participate, but there are 2 actual voting member seats available. We are looking for someone to serve on the Board of Finance. We are looking for, I think that's it for now. But if anybody is interested and has an interest in a certain policy area, you can let me know, and I keep a file, so if there's interest that comes up or vacancies or resignations, we look in that file first. Tonight, I'm going to do 4 appointments. The first one is to appoint John Skalenka to replace Shelby Pons as a member of the professional community for the Southside School HVAC Upgrade Building Committee. Does that require a vote, Therese?
Yes, it does require council approval.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next one is to appoint the new principal of Stafford School to replace the former principal. So to appoint LaTanya Farrell to replace Christine Irvine, the Board of Education professional member for the Stafford School Roof Replacement Building Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to appoint Christina Cipriani to be a member of the Mayor's Task Force on HIV/AIDS.
So moved. Oh, second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And next, School Readiness Council to appoint Lauren Kittle. She's replacing somebody who resigned and is no longer working in Bristol. She currently is a special consultant with Bristol Youth and Community Services, formerly of the Parent and Child Center.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the last appointment is to appoint Brittany Barney as acting mayor from tonight through 12/20.
Move it.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, just kidding.
Motion carries.
Excuse me, Mayor, can I ask a question? Is Brittany the youngest acting mayor ever?
I'm sure Calvin was at some point.
Calvin.
Oh, that's right. How could I ever forget about
Perhaps
Calvin?
not, though, because Democrats.
Perhaps not.
Yeah.
Calvin may not have ever served
Oh,
as acting
really?
mayor.
Okay.
We'll have to look.
I don't hold records for much, so that'd be cool.
All right, so that's it for appointments. Would you like to handle the rest of the agenda, Therese?
Number 11, resolution regarding grant application to the Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security for an EMPG grant to support the city's emergency management planning and response functions for $13,500. And there is a resolution to read.
Does anybody have the resolution ready?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay.
Be it hereby resolved by the City Council of the City of Bristol, Connecticut, that the filing of a grant application for $13,500 to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security for the federal fiscal year 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant funding is hereby approved, and that the Mayor Ellen A. Zoppo Sasu, or acting mayor, is hereby authorized to enter into, deliver, and execute such application and any and all other documents relating to this application grant, including but not limited to any final grant documents, and to do and perform all acts and things which she deems necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of this application grant. Be it further resolved that this matter be referred to the Board of Finance for any necessary action.
Second.
The motion has been made, and there's a second. Is there any discussion on the emergency management grant? We apply for this every year, and it goes to defraying the expenses of Harley's stipend as well as the other costs that we have incurred. Hearing none, this is a roll call vote, and we will start on my far right.
Yes.
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 The chair votes yes. The motion carries. Item 12.
To approve amendment to contract 2C 2066 Fire Department Headquarters renovations for new electrical service and fire electrical panels with Millennium Builders Incorporated for $59,829.61 to increase an existing contract from $1,141,803.75 to $1,201,633.36, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 13, to approve submission of application to the Connecticut State Library Historic Documents Preservation Grant Program to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents associated with the application/grant, and to refer the matter to the Board of Finance for any necessary action.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 14, to approve submission of an application for funds to Center for Tech and Civic Life COVID-19 Response Grant Program for the Town Clerk's Office and Registrar of Voters to reimburse costs for the November election, to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents associated with the application/grant, and to refer the matter to the Board of Finance for any necessary action.
So moved.
Second.
So Teresa, in light of the information received this afternoon from the Secretary of State, do you think we'll still have additional costs that we'll need to cover?
There may be, and actually, I think this grant even covers regular election costs.
Oh, great.
So if we can get some reimbursement for regular election costs this year, that would be great.
Okay.
It helps defray some other costs, perhaps in other
Absolutely.
budget areas.
Agreed.
Great.
Especially since it's from Mark Zuckerberg. Might as well take it.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for finding that, Therese. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business proper to come before the City Council? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.